kind of taking off any projection of what I think they should be or what I want them to be, or any reflection of me at all. It's literally respecting them as their own, like sovereign creators of their reality and supporting them in that. And in addition to that, there's a lot of like honoring my kids anyway are disruptors. Like they are not here to be compliant. They are here to disrupt what doesn't work. And that is, as excited as I am about that for them in adulthood, that is so hard in the parent
Mm-hmm.
phase. Yeah. So to remember the big picture of that, like what it is that I am equipping them to do in the world, as powerful as that is in the world in the future. Right now, it is very hard to watch my kids disrupt me,
Yeah.
our schedule, the life around us. It's been me coming to terms with my own discomfort around disruption and learning how to integrate
Mm.
that and hold that in the process.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. I'm loving this piece actually of that word disruptors. Like, I obviously am around a number, or not obviously, I am around a number of parents of Blue Diamond Souls, and they're in some of my programs as well. And that word kind of fits perfectly actually to the experience that many of them are having. So I like that because not that I feel like we need to put terms or words on things, but it allows people to start to see and understand, oh, like that's one of the pieces. It's not that they're intentionally trying to cause problems or that they're intentionally trying to play up. They actually, that there is a piece that they're carrying for us.
Yeah. And I think that's a misconception a lot of times. There's this kind of projection that high vibrational souls they meditate and they're peaceful and they're, that has not been my experience at all. So, I think that like even early in my journey, there was some shame and some like um, guilt that like I wasn't teaching them how to be calm Zen little kids. And because that's what I was kind of seeing projected as spiritual children and high vibrational children in this. And my experience was not that. And yeah, just learning that is, I mean, like that's not what they're here to do. Yeah. There's a Dane
No.
that says like we have enough monks meditating in the Himalayan mountains. We need more people taking action and creating change on the planet in a physical, matter sort of way. So that's what I'm experiencing that they are here to do.
Amazing. And yeah, I mean the ones I have met, I completely agree. Definitely quite interesting, a lot of energy, a lot of vibe, a lot of shift of spaces. And I agree with you. It's like, so if we're here to really shift humanity and to make a big change, we can't do that sitting in silence and sitting and meditating anyway. And I kind of feel like, us as humanity have sat on our hands for a really long time. We have kind of been like, oh, like things need to change. If only things would change. Oh, I wish things would change. Whereas, these souls are really coming through to be like, oh, we're
Yeah,
making change.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
Exactly. And I think it's important that we what we know about the way that we can get conditioned when we're younger. um, it's very easy to start to kind of rely on old paradigm thinking about the way kids should behave. And if they are going to create the change that they're here to create, it's like they don't need to be fighting against conditioning
mm,
and the way it should be in order to do it. I feel like they're going to do it either way, but we can pave the path if we can encourage them to trust themselves and to tune into what they are being led to do without
mm,
outsourcing that to the authority around them.
mm. What ways have you found are currently working? And I'm sure this probably changes all the time, but what ways are you finding are currently working for you in your parenting journey of giving them that space and that encouragement, but also, I guess I'm asking kind of two questions at once, of supporting them and yet also supporting yourself. Like I feel like there's both sides that need to be happening here.
Absolutely. And that's been part of the journey. I did mention earlier that actually going through the womb spiral and really clearing my own system and my own body around being comfortable with chaos, being comfortable with the feminine and not knowing what comes next. And also, softening that heart wall and being actually able to receive and to be present radically changed the way that I could show up for my kids, because there was so much like holding, it was like I was grasping and like trying to make it all fit. And it allowed me to kind of soften and just be on the journey with them differently.
Mm.
So, our own healing and our own reparenting our own inner child actually is the way that that looks for me, is giving our inner child the same respect, the same honor, that we are trying to give to our kids, is the way that that looks for me. And I have that conversation with my kids, so that on the kids side of it, I have very honest conversations about what's going on, about what I'm feeling, about what they're doing, and what it looks like and what the different outcomes may be. So I never say you can't do something. I say you
Mm.
can do this, but here's how some people may react to that choice. Here's the other thing that may happen if you choose this other thing. But I still give them the freedom to choose. It's like I equip them with all
Mm.
of the information, not just the information that supports the choice that I want them to make, all of
Uh-huh.
it. And they get to choose. And it's uncomfortable when they choose differently than what I would like. But I think that that's an important part of the evolution and the growth of them learning what their wisdom looks and sounds like. We have to get it wrong a couple times before we know what right feels like. And I would much rather than make those mistakes while I'm here to kind of hold and guide than, after they're out in the world running into the rules and the way things work. So I give them the space to make those mistakes. I don't think
Mm.
they're mistakes, but um, make choices differently than I would prefer. Um,
Mhm.
and I actually don't punish my kids. So there is no, you got it wrong and now there's punishment. We look at just the natural consequences of choices and actions. So there are consequences, but they are not they're not artificial. They're not like arbitrary and artificial consequences. It's the literal consequences of the actions that they take.
Mm.
Um, and I use the opportunities to teach instead of, you got it wrong, so now you're in trouble. It's like, so this didn't go quite the way we planned. What can we learn from it? How might we make better choices next time? It's like we're not testing our kids to see if they know or don't. We're literally
Mm.
trying to connect them to their wisdom. So, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's super important, and it's really beautiful. Actually, you're the second parent in like a few weeks that I've heard say a similar piece around the not punishing piece, actually, and just allowing the normal consequences, or even of kind of saying like, hey, that didn't work, and what do you think maybe now might be a fair way of
Exactly.
of compensation for whatever that was that you just did. Like, this thing just went really wrong, and
Yeah.
instead of the usual, so now you're grounded or whatever, it's like kind of what do you feel from that? I'm really enjoying hearing that, and I also feel like that sometimes that can't be so easy. like there must be this natural piece that wants to do something else, and how do you find your own outlet for those moments? Like, I witness a lot of parents, obviously, and I also, even though I'm not a parent, I feel what my body's response or reaction would be, and sometimes it's not the way we want it to be. Sometimes it comes out all wrong because there's an emotional response, and I'm wondering how, when you've got that feeling of like, oh, I just want to actually lose my shit at them right now and ground everybody,
Yes.
what do you do?
I experience those quite often, actually.
Excellent, so you are human, this is good.
Yes. And I mean, there's a whole range. Sometimes it does come out sideways. And in those moments, I I apologize. I take responsibility for my response and my reaction. And I actually think that that's very important for kids to see us lose our shit sometimes.
Yeah.
So many clients that I talk to are like, well, my parents didn't fight. I didn't, like they didn't argue. They didn't, everything was fine as far as I knew. And it's like, they got to adulthood and went like, what's wrong? Like I don't feel as peaceful and centered as my parents seemed. So I think it's a gift to our kids to let them see us experience our emotion. But
Yeah.
it's important that it's mine emotion, that it doesn't get directed towards them.
Mm.
That's the difference, is that I'm owning what's happening, and I am aware. It's like I communicate it as in, this is mine. This is happening within me. This situation is triggering something within me. I usually, once I figure out what it is, I explain it, because it's very rarely them, actually. It's my own inner child. It's my own, all of that. And I've seen them reflect that back to me, actually, like their anger. I mean, we pillow scream, we, punch pillows, we go for walks, we exercise, we take a minute and just, go do whatever we need to do.
Mm.
And those are all important resources that not many of us received when we were young. So my kids will say, I can't have this conversation right now. And they will go to their room and decompress. And sometimes maybe they will scream into their pillow. Sometimes maybe they'll hop on their like iPad and just zone out for a bit. It's like
Mm.
we all have the way that works for us in a moment. And then we get to come back to it when we are fully grounded and prepared to do that.
Mm. Thank you. I think it's really important for parents to understand that like it's normal to have those losing your shit moments, and that it's okay, and it doesn't suddenly mean like you're a bad parent, and other parents of high vibrational children don't do that. Well, please don't ever get yourself caught in that trap. Like I've literally seen parents be like, oh, but like I know the other people were doing it right, and like there is no right. And like even from my experience of communicating with the Blue Diamond Souls themselves, like they also are not expecting you to get it right. Like they are 100% want you to just be yourself and to be human and to be honest with them. Like this is one of the pieces that I found really profound when I was channeling for the book, was them saying, we actually just want you to be honest with us. Like when your emotions are not in a good place and you're angry or you're upset, like actually just be honest with us that that's where you are, because we can feel it anyway. And we know that it's part of the human experience.
Exactly. Well, I think that that's something that's actually quite damaging. Looking back at my own childhood, is that like my inner knowing was like, something's not right, but my mom or my aunt or whoever would say like, it's fine. And so what it did was taught me to question my knowing. It's like, oh,
Mm,
I feel like something's wrong, but the authority's telling me it's not. So maybe this isn't trustworthy. Like my body isn't accurate. And so that's the
ooh,
message that we send when we're doing that. The other thing is that we're constantly kind of teaching them to outsource authority. Listen to your parents, then listen to your teachers, then listen to your boss, and it's like, at what point are we actually directing kids back to themselves and
mm,
how to listen to that voice and to their own body and the wisdom, that they innately have. I mean, the
mm,
whole journey is like, if I could say one thing, it's like, trust your children, trust their inner knowing, and
yeah.
the journey will unfold beautifully. And I have a confession. Like, I think that people, or moms in particular, are quite shocked by this often, but like, there are times when I have called my partner or like my friends or my mom or my sisters and be like, I hate my kids right now. I hate being a mom. Like, fuck all of this. And I simultaneously fiercely love them and would die for them. It's like, it's very real that those are human emotions. They are
Mm,
emotions they're going through, and they do not necessarily mean anything. It's like, they
yeah.
don't inform what you are as a mother. They are just emotions that we're experiencing.
Yeah. Through being
It's
human. And
real.
it's, yeah. And I feel like these children actually are likely to kind of push more buttons and bring out even more of that, because like really as they're shifting and moving into what they're here to do in the world, on the planet and humanity, which is big roles, they kind of have to actually push their parents to a certain extent to evolve quickly. And what I'm seeing as parents of these high vibrational children are having to go on a very fast evolution path that is extremely uncomfortable. And sometimes
Yeah.
that path has started for them before they conceived. Sometimes it's like the moment they conceive, suddenly now, like, what on earth is this high speed evolution? And for others, it's really all during that parenting phase of like, there was no pre-warning that I was going to be going into this, but holy wow, everyone hold on to your hats
Yeah.
because this is wild.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's interesting because I'm studying human design right now. And in the human design world, there's literally the prediction, or whatever you call it, that like there is a new evolution of humanity that's being born right now. And that evolution
Yeah.
will be complete. I think it's like 2027 or something like that. But that the souls that are coming in are more creative. They are more flow than they are structure. And that's why we're seeing like the school system does not support these kids, because it is built to produce employees and not free thinking change makers, and they don't fit in the system. And because the system is built for the old standard, the narrative is like they don't fit their problem, as opposed to recognizing they are what is coming. They are a reflection
Mm.
of the new way, and the old system isn't serving the evolution. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of
yes,
parents struggling actually with that piece of like, well, for whatever their situation is, that they need to send their kids to school, but it's not really working, and their children are not
yeah,
behaving and doing the robot thing and sitting at the desk all day, which is kind of what we were also well trained to do. I see, I look back at school and I think we were trained the same way we would train a dog. Like, you need to sit
yes,
here, and if you sit here well behaved, when the bell goes, because you sat still for so long, now you get to go and have some fun. It's like literally how you would train. Like, we're just getting a
yeah,
puppy, and it's literally how you would train a puppy, a dog, and that's how we were trained. But it doesn't work on these. It doesn't work on them, and actually, if we do force them into I see that we can destroy them if we try and force them into this is the way you have to live this life. I feel like where we can destroy what they're really here to do. And I mean, they're here for a purpose, man. Like, just get goosebumps when I feel into like what these children are here for, and for us to encourage their growth as much as possible. And within that, there are a lot of parents who are sitting with this piece of, but I need to send my kids to school and it's not working. And I wonder, like, I know you're on a different schooling journey. So I wonder what your thoughts and feels are really on schooling, but also for both for unschooling, which I feel is the way, and it's what they've kind of shared with me is the way they would like to be schooled, but it's not always possible for everyone. So both for that direction, and also for parents who it's like, well, these kids are going through this old system. That is what's happening, and how do we support them in that?
yeah. So this is the process of deconditioning that has been the most challenging for me. We really have a deep dogma that school and education correlates to success. That if a kid isn't in school, they won't get a good job, they won't make money, they'll be failures, and that's the fear that runs in a mother, is like, oh my gosh, what if I don't give my kid what they need to be successful? And they're going to redefine what successful means in a
Mm.
massive way, for one thing. I would, so there are, this is what it looks like for me, like what I've encouraged parents to do. So like I had a friend who their kid was in school, they were coming home with a lot of homework, and their kid was like, I don't want to do homework. And so the mom went with the kid to the school and said, we will be present in class, but we will not be doing homework. Like, this is our time. And
Cool.
if that reflects badly in a grade, um, we don't really care, I guess. Like, it's really interesting that grades, when you really think about it, are arbitrary. Like
Yeah.
what it's based on, that in this particular year, when your kids are this age, these are the things that they need to learn or should learn. And I don't know about you, I don't remember what I learned in any given year. I know that there are foundational things, but I would argue that kids will learn it by living life. They will pick
Yeah.
up and learn all of the resources that they need, all along the way. So I unschool. I never formally taught my kids to read.
Mm.
And I read to them. I exposed them to books. I guided them as they asked, like the signs, like, oh, mom, what does that say? And they just would ask and I would respond and be present with them. They are both powerful readers now. They picked it up because it served them. And
Mm.
never forced them to do it before they were interested and ready to do it. Um, and it's scary. I will tell you that I spent most of those years terrified that I was failing my kids. And I always told myself, okay, so there are illiterate adults who can go to night school and learn how to read and catch up. So if all else fails, they can do an intensive year and get all caught up. It's like I had this like backup plan that if it really messed them up. But I also, I'm connected um, in groups and things of other unschoolers. So it's like I
Mm.
hear other parents of grown unschoolers who are successful and thriving and happy and creating beautiful businesses and doing amazing things in the world. So I had that, but it was still scary in the
Mm.
middle of the journey. Yeah, so there is that part of it too. And I would just say that if kids have to be in school, I would also challenge that. I think that there is a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, this is the hard part. Most parents are like, they have to though, don't they? Like, don't they have to be in school? It's like not really. They really don't. And like this, like last year was so easeful for us. It was not a big change from our normal routine because we are used to living life together and experiencing and learning and just being with what's happening in the world. um, and I think a lot of people are still kind of fighting that space between like schools opening and not being open and trying to work from home and trying to balance everything. And of course the pendulum swings when things change, but there is a space of ease and like a place of balance that eventually the family lands on. So yeah.
Mm.
But it's like supporting the kid in what's real for them while they're in the system. I think that so often, if kids do have to go to school, they were quick to dismiss what they say isn't working. It's like, well, that
Mm.
doesn't matter. You have to figure out how to fit in the system, as opposed to saying, well, the system is there. It's supporting us. We need it right now. But I'm going to support you in finding your sovereignty and your space in that arena. So I don't think parents usually feel empowered to do that. It's like, the teacher and the principal is the authority. We have to listen to them. So that goes back to the conditioning of handing our power over to whoever's in the position of leader.
Yeah. Yeah,
Big time.
which I feel like that's what's breaking down right now, right? Is this, which is why we're having to go through this intense period of like, oh, the leader says you must stay inside, so therefore you must, and everything that's just happening right now is this big cracking and breaking through all that old conditioning that we've been living in, as uncomfortable as that is for the whole world right now. But I've found it really interesting that yeah, these, like, knowing that these children want to be unschooled or homeschooled or however you would like to consider it, and that all of a sudden the world was forced into that, whether they wanted
Yeah.
that or not, and the system was forced into changing. And to me, there are no coincidences. Okay.
No. Yeah. And it's
Interesting.
interesting too, because I think it's important to distinguish between homeschooling and unschooling, in that homeschooling often is just replicating the system, but doing it at home, which actually requires a lot of energy from parents. So,
Mm.
this thought of homeschooling, because that feels comparable and safer. Like if I homeschool, then I'm still kind of giving them what they need. But that actually creates a lot of stress on the system for the kids and for the parents, the whole thing, as opposed to unschooling literally is like letting go of all of that and trusting our kids and learning alongside them. Like literally, I know that we cannot do anything without learning something. We are learning in every moment that we're living life, and and as long as we're like recognizing that and honoring that, encouraging that, um yeah, I mean, like, the lessons are invaluable, so it's important.
Mhm. What's like, I've met your children and I think they're quite sensational. So I'm
Yeah,
like, through all of that, what I can imagine would have been very uncomfortable and all the challenges that you've needed to go through to be okay with homeschooling and all the questioning of your own parenting and questioning of everything. What are you seeing now? I mean, your kids are a little bit older, like not older, but like they're some people who are watching this, their kids will be like kind of 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's a little bit different. You can't really see the results yet, but you're already able to see the results because you've basically got young adults
yeah,
on your hands, really.
yes, very much so.
Yeah.
I have a 14-year-old and a 10-year-old. Um, and the most amazing thing for me is the wisdom that comes through them. Like, the ability, first of all, to self-reflect. Like,
Mm,
I can't tell you how often when something happens, there is not a lot of projection. There's not a lot of like, they did this and they made me. It's like there is this a beautiful awareness of themselves. Um,
mm,
and the ability to like understand on a more complex level than I think most people give kids credit for. Like, they will drop these nuggets of wisdom out of nowhere, and like, I mean, like, even, when I used to do sessions in my home, um, my kids would bring my clients to tears with just a simple question, that like
mm.
seemed so innocent, and it would create this like immediate breakthrough in whoever they happen to be talking to. So there's this self-awareness, there's this like, I don't know, there's a freedom that I respect. Like, sometimes I'm like, man, I wish that I could just honor what was real for me as quickly as you can. um and quite honestly, like, most people are like, I would rather go have coffee with your kids than I would most of the adults I know. they
Mhm.
they just carry a maturity and a wisdom that I think all kids have. We don't like give them the space, or we don't presume that they actually have that innately, and so we kind of counter that in the projection that we have around them.
Mm. Yeah, well, I think, well, we treat them as children.
Yeah,
You're like, you'll sit at the children's table and like I remember Christmases was always like you go to the children's table. I'm like 13. What do you mean I go to the children's table? Like, it's just this different way that we've had of treating them.
yeah,
But like, yeah, my experience with your girls, and that was, gosh, it was here in Bali, so it must have been like a year and a half or 2 years ago now, maybe. It was a while
yeah,
ago. Um, I felt like I was sitting with two just adults in smaller bodies than mine. Like, even with your youngest, it's like she still had this beautiful innocence of a younger person,
yeah,
but her ability to have conversation was quite profound for me. And I think,
yeah,
yeah, there's this worldliness that comes about them because I see the way you speak to them and you speak to them like they're another person instead of
yeah. And
like,
I've done that since they were babies, actually. It's like I just talk to
yeah.
them like they are a sovereign soul. It's like, I don't know, I never baby talked with my kids, or I never simplified terms for them. I just spoke to them like I would anybody else.
Mm,
And they couldn't always respond back, but I gave them the opportunity for these like neural pathways to establish and to be activated in their bodies and in their brains. And yeah, they've always been just very articulate, wise little creatures, because I always presumed them to be.
yeah. Yeah, which is, yeah, I feel like, so, again, like with writing the book, like one of the things that they really said to me actually is, you're not my parents.
Right.
And I remember I did a post about it and it didn't go down too well with a few people kind of saying, like, but what do you mean? I'm always going to be their parent. And it's like, no, actually you need to, they don't like the term parent and mother and father. They don't like it. They're like, you're my guardian. And really
Yeah.
the role is to guardian them, is to support them, is to make sure that they grow into adulthood to be able to do what they're here to do, rather than I'm your mummy or your daddy and you're
You
filling this
belong to
part
me. Yeah.
of me because
Yeah.
I need to have that role. And I think that's very freaking confronting for a lot of
Yeah.
people who are like, but I gave birth to that. Like
Yeah.
they are my child. I think it's very difficult to flick that switch of like, mm, they're not actually your
True.
child.
It's true, but yeah.
Like they're of you. Like it's freaking amazing that you created. Like I still am fascinated. I'm like, we are like you created that inside your body, and then like this is amazing. And also you need to hold this place of like, but I don't own it.
Yeah, there's something else that I believe was in the book. I can't remember if it was in the book or if it that we talked about it. How they don't need the traditional family dynamics.
No.
They don't. It's like, and I'm seeing that with my kids. So, I don't know how, if your audience probably isn't aware, but I'm in the process of separating with my husband. And my kids have had, of course, as a mom, I'm like, oh gosh, are they going to be okay? Is this going to create blah, blah, blah? And my kids are like, whatever makes you guys happy, like, you seem healthier and happier, and like, it's fine. We're good. We love you. We love him. Like, let's just see what happens. And I'm like, okay, that takes a weight off.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel that that's so true. And I think it's like all kids that are coming in, we see it, with like the gender stuff and the choice in sexuality and desire and parenting and marriage and open relating. And, it's like all these rules that we've been like, this is the way it works. They're like, why does it work that way? Let's just
No.
free ourselves from all those things. Yeah. I mean, they're
Yeah, throw the
teaching me
rule
in
book
big ways.
out.
Yeah, big time. Big time. And that is triggering as a mom, I will tell you. Very
Yeah.
triggering.
Yeah, well, I can imagine because really the only way that we learn how to parent is from our parents.
Exactly.
Perhaps not the best way to learn how to parent, but that's how we as humans learn. Is like, oh, cool, that's how you do it. And so now I'm going to do that for my children. And then you go, oh, that none
Yeah.
of that works. And there's no book. There's no like they don't come on the stalk with the book that says, here, this is how you do this. Instead, you kind of have
Right.
to learn with egg on your face and keep falling over and going, oh my God, this is not this is not so easy. And they don't care about the typical family unit. Like the number of women who I know who have conceived to people who they were not in a relationship with and who they were taking precautions to not conceive, but these babies were like, I'm coming and I'm coming through to you now. So I know currently six women in that position who had like kind of conceived and gone, oh, okay,
Yeah.
so we're having a baby or I'm having a baby. And it's like, yeah, they're not interested.
Yeah.
Like they don't care about what we worry about, the
No,
mummy and
not at
daddy
all.
unit.
Mm-mm.
Like just
Yeah.
humans. They just want humans around. That's it.
And honesty, like authenticity and honesty. And, I mean, that's a big part of the cause of our separation, is like a difference in the way that we show up for our kids. And my kids are like, it just seems easier, if like, we don't try to force something that doesn't fit. It's like, it's hard for him to meet us in this. It's kind of hard for us to, not be met in it. It's like, let's just let it be easy. And it's really beautiful, actually, to follow that lead. I will
Mm,
say there is not a manual for parenting, but I would say that human design is as close as we can get to a manual for individuals. Like,
mm,
that has been a game changer in raising my kids, is knowing how each of them are built. And it has changed the way that I support them. Um, my conditioning was like, we need to eat together. We need to sit at the dinner table. This is good for our connection. And this is like all this psychology and collective conditioning around what that means. And I started to look at their human design. And my older kid, who loves to go into her room and eat like by herself, I was taking that personally, and I'm like, I'm making food and you should eat out here. She's a cave dweller, and that's actually
oh,
where, like, alone and in a quiet place, is where she ingests it best, food and information. And then my younger one, who would like eat but then go do something and like constantly moving, she's a rabbit. So she's always alert, always picking up information, and she actually needs to be kind of moving. And so I'm like, oh, like, mind blown. Here I am actually fighting against their design because of my conditioning, as opposed to trusting them that they actually know the way they're built and they're following their
mm,
design. And I just need to get out of the way. I just need to like honor what feels right for them. But it
Yeah.
was, it made it easier for me when I saw on paper. I'm like, oh, okay, this is okay.
Mm,
Well, it's okay. So yeah, it's huge. It's a game changer.
that's a seriously epic tip for people actually on that piece, because also I guess it's going to teach you yourself, like on your, obviously it teaches you about you and how you are. So, and I think I remember you saying also you can do like the family together. Is that right? Like you can do charts for, right? Wow.
You can combine, you can just see, yeah, what the energy of the collective is, but also I think it's really important to recognize, um, I like emotional centers. My kids both have defined minds open, and those relate to each other in a very specific way. And so it's like when we understand that as the parent, I can be more intentional in the way that I'm interacting with that energy, instead of blowing up and making it my own. I actually can recognize that's theirs, and if I can
Mm,
respect that, then it can be much more easeful. So yeah, it's
mm,
really beautiful tool, whether it's human design or astrology or whatever thing. It's like, get to know the nature of your child, of each individual child.
yeah. I feel like that's I feel like that's a really potent and powerful piece for people actually. Um, other than like obviously I think getting a reading is really the way to do that. Um, what are other ways? Like if someone is like, right now I just don't have the resources or I can't, or whatever, for all the different reasons, if they can't go and get a reading and like really understand, what are the ways that you've found kind of easy to start? Because I know I started to look into human design and I was like, oh my god, there's all these books and courses and I don't know what to do, and then I just put it down.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. And until your system is in a place that it's ready for it. Like I don't know how many times I looked at human design and I'm like, I don't get it. Like it just
Yeah.
boggles my mind. And then all of a sudden it made sense. So
Mm,
um yeah, it's like it's just when it's aligned, it's aligned.
cool.
But if and even if there isn't space for your own homework and research, like I ran charts and I just started to pay attention, even on social media, paying attention to the groups that were sharing about these things. It's like, oh, my kid's that. And then it's like, oh, I understand them a little better.
Mm,
But beyond any of the tools and stuff, like really being present and watching them, witnessing the way they do things, they already know. It's like they know what works for them. And it's us that has an idea about the way it should look that has a problem with that. So if we can quiet the mind and the conditioning, and it's not just our parents, it's like the TV shows and the commercials and the public messaging all
mm,
condition us to believe a certain way. And when we can tune all of that out and let that be really quiet and just be really present, witnessing our children and the way they do things, they know, and learning to trust them. And I will say,
mm.
we have a hard time trusting children because when we were children, we were told that we couldn't trust ourselves. It's like, you're a kid, you don't know. You don't know what you need. I know better. And so we've reversed those roles. When we become parents, we're like, oh, wait, they're a kid. They don't know. I need to know. But let's be
Mm.
honest, I don't know. Like, I can pretend like I know all day long, but I don't know. And so, it's like switching the tide and like giving that authority back to them and trusting that they know.
They probably know more.
They do 100% of the time, 100% of the time. Even if it looks messy, it's like they know the experiences they need to learn. They know that the walls they need to run up against to learn, they know. And even if it looks messy from our end, they know what they need to experience. And we
Yeah.
can just be there to love them and support them in that.
What a
Yeah.
relief, huh? It's like actually they know.
Right?
When you don't know how to parent them, ask them because they
Yes.
already know. Like,
It's so true. I mean, truly, like leaning into this really has allowed me the space to breathe, instead of like, oh my
mm,
gosh, I have to figure it all out. I'm responsible for everything. And if I mess up, it's like so much noise and so much pressure, as opposed to like, I get to trust their journey. I mean, of course I keep this is funny. The mind always goes, oh my gosh, do you just let them run out in the road? That's when I always hear, right? Like, you let them run out on the road and get hit by cars. And I'm like, who? How does that make sense? No, I don't do that. I do equip them though, like, hey, look, there are cars going by here very quickly. And if you happen to step out into that road, something bad could happen. So I don't say, hey, don't do that. I like give them all the
Mm,
information and guide them, and I'm present with them until it registers, until they understand how to make those choices for themselves. There's, obviously I'm here to protect them in the way that I need to keep them physically alive until they, you know, can do the things
yeah.
they're here to do. So no, unschooling and like this kind of freedom, sovereign parenting does not mean letting them run in the road, just to, make that very clear.
It cracks me up. Like, I probably wouldn't let any human just run on the road, just a thought. But yeah, funny, isn't it? We're at humans'
Yeah,
minds where they go. Yeah,
it is so
yeah,
interesting every time that question comes up because I'm like, wow, that's so interesting.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not an animal. I do, yeah, equip my children for safety.
It's like,
Bless
oh,
those
they'll
children.
learn, right? No,
Yeah,
that's not how we do it.
I love it. Oh my gosh. So I'm like wondering, because we're you and I are, I'm so excited. You and I are about to co-facilitate this next round of apprenticeship. I'm like, I get goosebumps at that one as well. So anyone who doesn't already know who's watching this, the Temple of Aramella has been born, and Jamie and I co-facilitating this next round of mentorship, apprenticeship. There are 3 different levels that women are coming in, and I am just beside myself excited. I've spent a lot of this week speaking to women who are coming into the program. Um, so first of all, I just want to tell the whole world I'm excited about that, and I'm excited to be doing that with you for a number of different reasons. Like, I just have such deep respect for you and your offerings and what you bring to the world. I also feel like we hold such beautiful, you can even see it, like, just for the way we look, we hold the polarity really, really beautifully, not only just in our in our external package, but also just in the way we hold space, which is amazing. And so going through this, women are going to journey through the womb gates, and I'm kind of intrigued to hear from you how, like, you briefly touched on it. How do you feel having the understanding of the womb gates has supported you in parenting, but also just in life, but in parenting first?
Yeah. So the main thing, I mean, there's lots of nuances, but like the big picture thing is that going through the womb gates reconnected me to like that still inner wisdom that I know intimately now. Where before it was like so noisy, like, is this right? Should I, shouldn't I? What, like I didn't, it was so hard to find what was aligned. And now it's like I
Mm,
have the ability to drop into myself. And when my mind wants to get scared, when my mind wants to get crazy and, tell all these stories, I can really drop into what feels safe, what feels grounded, what feels most
mm,
aligned and supportive for my kids in the big picture. Um, but in
mm,
addition to that, each of the gates that we go through, it's like um, changing like obligation to raising my kids from obligation to devotion
mm,
to journey as a mother switched like this kind of drain and responsibility feeling to pleasure, to like I love to provide for them, I love to teach them, I love to spend my days with them. And it's like just these little things and awareness of what the keys bring, what they open up within us, radically shift the way that I interact with my kids. I also have 2 daughters, so that was a big thing for me as well, was like I posted the other day, almost every womb spiral client I go through with is like, I'm 43 years old and I did not know that about my body, So I'm like,
mhm.
why are we not teaching kids? And when we teach kids about the penis and, like
Yeah,
we're pretty aware of how that works, and we're still missing some information on that as well. But
of course.
don't do that with female bodies so much. Like female reproductive system or female pleasure is not highly prioritized in the world.
Mm,
And even if I had sons, I would like to think that I would also be equipping him with this information about the way the female body works. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's so much, like it radically. In fact, my kids were like, you feel different. I remember coming
Mm.
home from the womb spiral retreat actually, and I sat on the floor with the kids and we cried. Like we had this huge emotional
Mm.
conversation, you know, and it was like, I am so sorry that I haven't been able to meet you as deeply as I actually really want to, you know, and it's like, and I recognize that now that I actually had a wall. I realized because I have this kind, my like core wound is around abandonment. And I realized that I had a wall because I knew eventually my kids would abandon me, was the story. So it's like, do I really want to fully open to these beautiful creatures who are just eventually going to leave me? And
Mm.
you know, it's like, oh my God, that is not that is not the way that I want to be interacting with these kids in the journey, you know. So I came home and it's like I talked to them about that. I talked to them about my inner child that, you know, I got to play with while I was in womb spiral. And in fact, my youngest kid got me some bows, some hair bows, and a little toy truck for my inner children the next birthday because they remembered that she was out to play now. Yeah, so it's like so deep, but they acknowledge that like you feel different, like this
Mm.
feels different, and we've had this conversation so many times, and this feels softer, you know, and so our relationship has changed both in me towards them but also them towards me, having gone
Mm.
through the womb spiral retreat and then, you know, going through the apprenticeship and then now offering this work to other women. You know, it's like as we do that, we obviously get to enjoy the depths each time, and I'm, you know,
Yeah.
so grateful for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pure magic in a lot of ways.
Mm. Yeah, it's like this ever deepening journey that we get to go on. So
Yeah.
incredibly powerful, and it, like, and I guess from my side of witnessing women come through, like obviously with the womb spiral retreat, but then witnessing them come through the full like apprenticeship level now so many times, and just seeing what changes actually not only in themselves but in all of their relationships. I am like, whoa, this is, there's such a deepening and an enriching and like an emergence of who the woman really is journeying through these gates. And obviously still continuously for me, as each time we go through, I'm also deepening even
Right.
more into the gates. And it's one of the things that I, feel about these womb gates is it's, you can choose to just journey it through once, and that's fine, and you can choose to journey through it a few times, or you can choose to actually make it a part of your life path and to just continuously evolve in this piece. And I've said a number of times, I feel like I get to these places with the gates and I'm like, oh, this new level of them opens up to me still after 6 years of journeying with them. And I literally think I'm going to get to the day when it's my last breath and I'm going to go, oh, like that's, oh, it's like
Yeah.
there's this constant evolution that's happening with them. And actually, I'm super excited with this next round. I started to share with you and with the mentors as well. There's a new, oh, I just got goosebumps again. there's, there's a whole new piece, a whole new teaching coming through with this round. As well, which I'm just so excited about, from a new teacher of mine in spirit form who is like profoundly amazing and is opening up some very deep ancient wisdom that is going to come through into this next round. So I am so excited to be able to share that, because even for you and I who've now been doing this for a little while, it's new. There's like, we get to continue evolving and continue learning some more. So
Yeah.
you know, I know it's I don't even think I've told you yet. So I'll tell you and everybody else at the same time. But I've also just booked in 6 guest teachers as well.
Oh,
So
amazing.
yeah, so there's not only like you and I and the 3 mentors, so the 5 of us holding it, but there are also 6 like world-renowned, amazing, epic guest teachers coming in to hold all different transmissions for us, which is super cool. I don't know if you know Aaron Kleineman, but he is a friend of mine from mystery school. He's very well known, kind of in the tantra field. He's going to come and do a masculine initiation for all of us.
Oh,
So excited for that to
that's
have,
a game changer. Yeah.
yeah, like to have a male body come in and do that, because usually like I've done it, but it's not the same in a woman's body. So like to have a male's body come in and do that, We've
Yeah.
also got Victoria Redbard. So you would know Victoria, like running such an amazing movement around sex and sexuality. So she's coming in. Like I literally, like,
Oh my gosh. It's
I'm
so amazing.
covered. I'm covered in goosebumps. Kylie Ryan is going to come and support on for women who do like see clients, to be able to really support them on what is the best way to run a session, what is the best way to really care for your clients. Again, like just like top in her field, and it's like probably a lot of people in our community will know her. Patricia, I can never say her surname correctly, Patricia Gonsalves, who I journeyed with a number of years ago with Kundalini dance, who works very closely with Loyola, who's the creator of Kundalini dance. She's coming in to do a shamanic dance for us as well. Who else? I mean, discussions with Mia as well to come and do some void transmission for us. I don't know anyone else in the world that holds void in the way that she holds void. And I've missed someone. I'm like, who have I missed? The six. Oh my goodness, I can't even remember. But like all of this has happened this week, so I haven't even shared it with you yet.
Oh my goodness. I mean, any one of those would be like epic value. But you have so many. Holy
Yeah.
shit. That Mia, the
Yeah.
with Mia, because I've mentored with Mia as well, and I feel her come in at gate 7 a lot. That her void transmission and the way that we step into that. So that's, I mean, that's a beautiful marriage. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah, I'm super excited. So I'm literally about to start announcing all of those from today. Going to start to publicly announce all this from today. And there's a couple other ones that I have up my sleeve as well, by the way. I just
I'm
can't
so.
announce them yet because they're not confirmed, but
I mean, I was excited before, but I'm like even more. This is gonna be epic. Like,
I
I,
know.
I feel it moving in my house, in my relationships, in my meditation. It's like it's a powerful container. It's a powerful energy that is already kind of making her presence known in a, in a lot of ways. So I'm
Yeah.
so grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I feel like this has been, this has been a few years in the making. So for anyone who kind of doesn't know the journey, this is not just a but it's not another program where I've kind of, sat down with my head and gone, oh, I'm just going to put together this program. Like this literally has been, Jamie's witnessed the initiation that I've needed to go through to be able to birth this. You're having your own initiation. It's been pretty wild. I thought this was going to birth last year. The temple was like,
Mm-hmm.
you got some work to do, girl. So now we're finally ready for it to come through. Yeah, but it is, this temple really has such a beautiful and amazing and intense energy of its own that's coming through. And what I'm feeling, if you share, is like the 5 of us who are holding this container got together last week. I think, yep, it was last week, and did like a drop in to really activate the temple and to really feel the pillars of this temple and how powerful the energy is of this. And what I really feel is the women who are for this work are just like, I can feel them being like is vibrated in, magnetized in, being called in. And it, like some of the calls I'm having with women this week are like, I don't even know how I'm going to make this happen, but somehow this is going to happen and I'm doing this. Like I don't have any resources to be able to do it, but I'm yes. Like I have no idea.
That's how I came in. I remember I even showed up at the Wombs Power retreat and I'm like, I'm not even sure what this is actually. I just know I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah, it's totally what's happening on calls.
It happens.
It's amazing. Like
What was that, like 2 years ago?
Yeah. And then now look.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. Glad I listened. Glad my womb was like speaking louder than my head was.
So am I. I am very glad about that. Yeah, and I feel like that's a piece for like other women. I know there are a lot of women who are feeling this, and there are a lot of women who are feeling it, but are that are kind of like, oh, I don't know, I'm not too sure, I'm scared, I don't know exactly what it is. And to those women, like I really want to say is like, if you're feeling if your body is feeling any type of a pull, even though your head might be completely confused on the how, like literally it might be like, I have like $10 in my bank account, how on earth am I supposed to, I don't have time, I don't, whatever the stories are, not, they're not stories, they're realities. If your body is pulling you in, then trust that pull, because everything else will actually just, I've seen it over and over and over again, everything else will just line up. It will just happen.
Mhm.
Like once you say yes, 100% committing to yourself,
Mhm.
it will all line up. And I don't know if you've got anything you want to add to women who are maybe thinking, oh, I think maybe, but maybe is it for me? Or, the stories that we all have.
Yeah. I mean,
Human.
that was me. I mean, literally, if I would have listened to my head, I would not have come. I wasn't running, a business at that point. I did not have a lot of money that was expendable. My head would have said no. I mean, like, you can't travel, you can't leave your kids, you can't, because I went and did like an
Did it in
in-house
person.
retreat, and there were a lot of reasons why I couldn't. Um, but I will tell you, and it's a journey, it's not like, oh,
Mm.
everything just magically appears, it's like I've journeyed up and down, I've faced some challenges, and I have grown through every one of them. And
Mm.
the reason that I could is because of this deep trust in myself, and this like ability to back myself and to create boundaries that honor all parts of me. And yeah, it's worth every up, every down, every penny, every like tear, every all of it. It's like
Mm.
it all holds a deep purpose, and it supports us very deeply in creating the life that we
Yeah.
desire to live.
Yeah. Whew. I don't think there's any other way to live anymore. Like I literally feel like this last 12 months has shown us the only way to actually live is to just live fully aligned with yourself, because we don't have any control over the rest of it. This life is going to bring all sorts of weird ass twists and turns. And I don't know about you, but I would much rather just be living it on my terms, doing what I want to do, being true, like
Yeah.
fully true to myself and what my own path and my own journey is, and be within this chaotic
Uh,
whirlwind of life,
yeah. Yeah.
whatever it is right now.
The control and the like semblance of structure we saw last year was an illusion. It's like, it's an illusion. So
Yeah.
what if we just get comfortable with not knowing and actually just being present in the now? And yeah, that's a much more comfortable place to live when you can just figure out and handle and flow with whatever happens.
Yeah.
We're 100 for 100, right? Like, we're here, we're doing it. I remind clients of that a lot. They're like, but what if this happens? It's like, up to this point, haven't you been able to handle anything that life has thrown you? They're like, oh yeah, I never thought of it that way.
Hmm.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's hard. I'm journeying it too, but we've got it. We're here to do big
Mm.
things in the world, and yeah, we're
Yeah.
built for this.
Yeah. Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more. And oh my God, yeah. And I'm so excited to be walking this path with you. I'm so
Mm.
excited that we get to support this journey together and this temple together, and really guide these women into feeling that fully within themselves, into feeling that peace 100% in themselves, that like they have amazing things to do in this world, and it is time to do that now, and it is time to become 100% fully themselves
Yeah.
now. Like no more waiting. So I am super excited to be able to hold this space with you, to be able to provide that magic for these women coming through. And if anyone is watching and you're like, oh my gosh, I think that's me, please reach out and private message either of us. I'm always super happy, and I'm sure Jamy is as well, to answer any questions that you might have. I'm happy, like I'm getting on calls with people who are just checking it out. Like it's not, I really do want to speak to that, actually, is like sometimes it can seem like, oh, if I get on a call, that means it's a sales thing and I'm going to have to hand over my credit card at the end of the call and whatever. That is not how I do things. I'm happy to just get on a call and talk it out with you, or do voice messages or whatever you want. because all that I actually want is women who feel fully aligned to this work to be supported to come into this work. That's it. I'm not interested in selling someone into a program. That is not what this is about. This is like, if you're supposed to be here, I want to hold your hand and guide you in. If you're not, I also want to support you in feeling that it's not a fit. Like, that's it.
Absolutely. It's like nobody's here to convince anybody that this is what you need. But
No.
if it's aligned for you, we also want to support you being a part of the amazing journey. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know. And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
really is beautiful. And I'm not here to convince you otherwise.
No, not at all. Not at all. I love that. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
Amazing. That feels like a really nourishing space to wrap this conversation. So I'm just going to very quickly. I've looked at the thing a couple of times and it seems to have frozen, like it's not frozen, but the messages I can't see. So thank you so much to all the women. I can see that there's been a few of you on, and I can see you've been commenting. I really, really appreciate that. I'm probably Jamy as well. We'll go in and have a look at the messages after this and respond to anything we need to respond to. So thank you so much. And women in here in Women Alchemy, I just, I adore you all, and I love it. Like, some of you have been in this page with me for like 4 years or something, as we've evolved through all different ways that this is going to look, and you just keep sticking with me, so thank you. And we've got a number more of these calls coming in here over the next week as well with the other women in the program, and I think actually Jamy and I are going to do another chat as well over the next week at some point, so we'll be in here plenty more. So yeah, thank you so much for being here live with us, those who are on the replay. Thanks for being on the replay. I was about to do hashtag replay, but I'm like, I should have done that at the beginning. So, if you made it to the end and you're on the replay, do hashtag replay anyway, because I'll just love it. Awesome. Amazing. Thank you, darlings. I'm going to take us off live. So bye-bye.